where you spoke the honest truth and it backfired. Relationships where your openness gave someone bullets to use against you. Your honesty isn't noble, it's naive. You're acting as if everyone follows the same rules. They don't. Some people are playing a calculated game and they defeat the honest people every single time because honest people are predictable. Manipulation isn't evil. Manipulation is simply understanding how people function and using that knowledge. Everyone influences everyone else. That's called communication. The only difference between influence and manipulation is whether someone agrees with your goal. When they like your goal, it's persuasion. When they don't, it's manipulation. Same method, different name. You've been avoiding manipulation because someone told you it was wrong. Meanwhile, they have been manipulating you into avoiding it. Machiavelli wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be, but few experience what you truly are. What he understood is that perception becomes reality. The strategic person manages perception, shows what benefits them, hides what harms them, shapes how others view them. The honest person reveals everything, gives everyone details that can be used against them, calls it being real. It's being foolish. You see why the worst people win now. Selfishness, coldness, ruthlessness, manipulation. You see the tools they kept that you threw away. But there are 3 more traits. These last 3 are the ones that make the first 4 permanent. Without them, you'll slide back into good programming. What are they? The 5th trait society calls bad is paranoia. You were taught to trust people, give them the benefit of the doubt, assume good intentions, believe what they tell you. Good people aren't suspicious. Good people accept words at face value. Good people don't expect the worst. You became trusting, open, exposed. You believed people until they gave you a reason not to. But look at the people who rarely get betrayed. They trust slowly. They confirm everything. They watch what people do, not just what they say. They assume everyone has a motive until proven otherwise. They don't give the benefit of the doubt, because doubt protects them. They look paranoid, but they rarely get blindsided. They rarely wake up to betrayal they didn't sense coming because they were observing. Always observing. Here's what nobody told you about trust. It's a vulnerability. Every time you trust someone, you're placing a gamble. You're betting they'll do what they promised, betting they have your interests at heart, betting they're being honest, and you're placing these bets with almost no proof. You just met someone and you're trusting them. You just began working with someone and you're trusting them. You barely know them and you're giving them access to hurt you. Think about every betrayal you've experienced. Did it come from a stranger or someone you trusted? It came from someone you trusted. It always does. Strangers can't betray you because you never gave them access, but the people you trusted, you opened the door, you let them in, and then they did what people often do when they have access and opportunity. They served themselves at your cost. Your trust made it possible. Paranoia isn't madness. Paranoia is simply verification before commitment. The paranoid person doesn't trust words. They observe behavior over time. They test people in small ways before trusting them in big ways. They keep their guard up until someone has repeatedly proven they deserve trust. That's not living in fear. That's living with awareness. The only difference between paranoia and prudence is degree. A little paranoia prevents a lot of suffering. Machiavelli wrote that men are so simple and ready to obey present needs that one who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. What he understood is that most people want to believe. They want to trust. They want the easy path of simply accepting what they're told, and deceivers know this. They depend on it. They count on your trust. Your paranoia disrupts their game. They can't deceive someone who verifies. They can only deceive someone who trusts. That's the 5th trait, paranoia. The worst people confirm everything. The good people trust everything. Guess who gets betrayed less? But there's another trait that pushes everything forward. This one is about ambition, about wanting more, about never being satisfied with where you stand. What is it? The sixth trait society calls bad is greed. You are taught to be content, be thankful for what you have, don't be materialistic, don't always crave more. Enough is enough. Good people are satisfied, greedy people are never happy. You became content, thankful, accepting of what you had. You stopped wanting more because wanting more was labeled bad. But look at the people who actually build empires. They want more constantly. They're never satisfied. They achieve something and instantly want the next level. They reach a goal and immediately set a bigger one. They accumulate and keep accumulating. No limit, no enough, just more and more and more. They look greedy, but they keep advancing while you remain exactly where you are. Here's what nobody told you about contentment. It's the death of ambition. When you're content, you stop striving. When you're grateful for what you have, you stop reaching for what you could have. When enough is enough, you never get more than enough. Contentment feels calm, but it's the calm of surrender, the calm of accepting limits, the calm of staying exactly where you are until the end. Think about what you've achieved versus what you could achieve. Are you content with the gap? Are you grateful for limitation? Are you at peace with unrealized potential? The content person accepts the gap. The greedy person closes it. The content person makes peace with average. The greedy person refuses average. You've been taught that the content person is happier, but the content person is simply more comfortable with failure. Greed isn't evil. Greed is just ambition without a fake ceiling. The greedy person wants more because more exists. Why would you stop when you can continue? Why would you accept less when you could have more? The only reason is that someone told you wanting more was wrong, but they told you that because your contentment keeps you manageable. Your satisfied smile makes you easier to control than someone who keeps demanding more. Machiavelli wrote that the desire to acquire is truly very natural and common. What he understood is that wanting more is human nature. Everyone wants more. The only difference is that some people suppress it and some people act on it. The suppressors stay stuck. The actors keep climbing. Your greed isn't shameful, it's energy. The only question is whether you'll use it or bury it. That's the sixth trait, greed. The worst people always want more. The good people settle for what they have. Guess who ends up with more? But there's one final trait, the one that holds all the others together, the one that the worst people have that you likely don't have yet. Without this trait, you'll never be able to use the first six openly. What is it? The seventh trait society calls bad is shamelessness. You were taught to care what people think. Be humble. Be modest. Don't draw too much attention to yourself. Don't be overly confident. Don't be too proud. Good people are self-aware. Good people feel proper shame when they mess up. Good people care about how others see them. You became humble, modest, conscious of judgment, careful about perception. But look at the people who actually chase what they want. They don't care what you think. They do what works regardless of how it appears. They ask for things you'd be too embarrassed to ask for. They promote themselves in ways you'd find uncomfortable. They take credit, take space, take attention, and when people judge them, they don't react. They continue because other people's opinions are not their priority. Here's what nobody told you about shame. It's a leash. Someone else is holding it. Every time you feel shame, you're being controlled by what someone else might think. You don't start the business because people might judge. You don't ask for the raise because it might look greedy. You don't post the content because people might criticize. You don't chase what you want because you're ashamed of wanting it. Your shame is not your conscience. It's a collar, and other people's opinions are the hand pulling it. Think about everything you haven't done because of shame. The chances you didn't take, the requests you didn't make, the attention you didn't claim, the success you didn't go after. all because you cared what someone might think. People who don't even matter, people who aren't even watching, people who have their own issues and aren't thinking about you anyway. You limited your whole life for the opinion of people who don't care about you. Shamelessness isn't arrogance. Shamelessness is simply freedom from outside control. The shameless person does what works, promotes themselves boldly, asks for what they want directly, pursues success openly, not because they're annoying, but because they refuse to let possible judgments limit their real life. That's not ego, that's freedom. The only difference between shamelessness and confidence is that shameless people don't check if you approve first. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. What he understood is that caring about being loved gives others power over you. They can control you through your need for approval. The shameless person doesn't need your approval, doesn't fear your judgment, can't be controlled through reputation because they don't worship their image. They do what works, period. Your opinion does not change their action. That's the seventh trait, shamelessness. The worst people don't care what you think. The good people build their entire lives around what people might think. Guess who lives more freely? 7 traits: selfishness, coldness, ruthlessness, manipulation, paranoia, greed, shamelessness. Put them together and you have the worst person. The person everyone labels bad. The person everyone judges. The person everyone whispers about. The person everyone secretly watches succeed while they struggle. You are programmed to reject every single one of these traits, not for your benefit, but for theirs. Selfless people are easier to exploit. Emotional people are easier to control through feelings. Forgiving people are easier to abuse because they don't remove abusers. Honest people are easier to outplay because you can see all their cards. Trusting people are easier to betray because they don't verify. Content people are easier to keep down because they don't demand more. Ashamed people are easier to control because you just threaten their reputation. Your virtues were never about making you successful. They were about making you manageable, controllable, usable. The people who taught you to be good didn't have your success in mind. They had their comfort in mind. A world full of good people is a world full of people who are easy to take from. You're not becoming evil by developing these traits. You're removing limits. You're picking up tools you were told were wrong to hold. You're becoming competitive in a game where everyone else is already playing this way. They just pretend they aren't. They publicly praise virtue while privately practicing everything described here. The only difference between you and them is that they dropped the mask a long time ago. The good people in your life will notice you changing. They'll see you putting yourself first. They'll see you making colder decisions. They'll see you cutting people off. They'll see you becoming strategic. They'll see you trusting less. They'll see you wanting more. They'll see you caring less about their opinions. And they'll judge you. They'll call you different, cold, selfish, not who you used to be. Good. You're not who you used to be. You're not the person who finishes last anymore. You're not the person who gets ignored and underpaid and taken advantage of. You're not the person running handicap programming while everyone else runs competitive programming. Let them call you the worst person. You know what the worst people have that the good people don't: success, power, resources, freedom. While the good people are being good and losing, the worst people are being strategic and winning. Now you know why. Now you know how. Now the only question is whether you're going to keep being good and keep losing, or whether you're ready to become the worst person in the room, the one everyone judges, the one everyone whispers about, the one everyone watches succeed while they fail. The worst people are the most successful. Now you know why. Now you can become one of them. If you have made it this far, it is because a part of you already senses this truth. Success does not reward goodness. It rewards decisiveness, detachment, and the ability to act without hesitation. Many who rise are not the most moral. They are the most strategic, willing to make choices others avoid. Now tell me in the comments if you are ready to see power without illusions. If this message reached you and made sense, write in the comments, "I see the truth." Let us see H situations where you had the better idea, but someone else got the credit. Moments where you told the full truth and it was used against you. You walked away confused, thinking, "At least I was honest." But honesty without strategy is exposure. It is standing in the open while everyone else is using cover. The manipulative person studies people. They watch reactions. They test boundaries. They understand timing. They know that words are tools. Tone is a tool. Silence is a tool. They rarely say everything they think. They say what moves the situation in their favor. They adjust, depending on who they are speaking to. They do not see this as evil. They see it as skill. You were taught that influence is wrong, but influence is happening whether you use it or not. Every conversation is influence. Every relationship is influence. Every request is influence. The only question is whether you are aware of it. When you refuse to learn how influence works, you are not being pure. You are being unprepared, and the prepared person will always outperform the unprepared one. Manipulation at its core is understanding leverage. It is understanding what someone values and speaking to that value. It is knowing that people act based on emotion and justify with logic. It is knowing that presentation often matters more than content. You might have the best product, the best idea, the best plan, but if you cannot frame it in a way that connects with others, someone with a worse idea but better framing will win. This does not mean you lie. It does not mean you deceive. It means you become aware that people are not purely rational. They are driven by pride, fear, desire, insecurity, status, belonging. The person who understands this and uses it has power. The person who ignores it becomes controlled by it. You have probably said, "I don't want to play games," but life is already a game. Not playing does not remove you from it. It just guarantees you lose to people who understand the rules better than you. The worst people are not ashamed to influence. They do not feel guilty about persuading. They see results and they optimize for results. That is the fourth trait. Manipulation, or as it is often called when it sounds nicer, persuasion and strategy. The worst people master it. The good people avoid it. Guess who gets more done? But there is another trait that supports all of these. This one is quiet but powerful. This one determines how long you can stay in the game without breaking. What is it? The fifth trait society calls bad is indifference. You are taught to care deeply about what people think. Reputation matters. Approval matters. Being liked matters. If someone is upset with you, fix it. If someone criticizes you, explain yourself. If someone misunderstands you, clarify. Good people care about harmony. Good people care about being seen as good. So you cared. You adjusted yourself to avoid judgment. You softened your words to avoid conflict. You explained your decisions to people who did not deserve explanations. You lost sleep over opinions from people who would not lose a second over yours. Now look at the people who rise. They are not controlled by approval. They are not stopped by criticism. They do not bend every time someone is uncomfortable. They are willing to be misunderstood. They are willing to be disliked. They are willing to move forward even when others disagree. Indifference is not heartlessness. It is selective attention. It is deciding whose opinions matter and whose do not. The worst people do not waste energy trying to win everyone. They know that trying to be liked by all makes you respected by none. They focus on results, not applause. Think about how much of your life has been shaped by fear of judgment. Jobs you did not apply for because someone might say you are not ready. Conversations you avoided because someone might think you are rude. Boundaries you did not enforce because someone might call you selfish. Your need for approval has limited your growth more than your lack of talent ever did. The indifferent person is free in a way you are not. They can act boldly because they are not waiting for permission. They can say no without writing a long explanation. They can disappoint people without collapsing inside. They understand that not everyone will like them, and they are fine with that. You were taught that caring is a virtue, and it is, but caring about everything is a weakness. When every opinion matters, you become paralyzed. When only the right opinions matter, you become powerful. That is the fifth trait, indifference to unnecessary approval. The worst people are not chasing validation. The good people often are. Guess who moves faster? There is another trait that builds on this. This one affects how you handle conflict and competition. This one decides whether you protect your position or lose it. What is it? The sixth trait society calls bad is aggression. You were told to be peaceful, avoid conflict, do not make waves, compromise, meet in the middle. Good people do not fight unless they have to. Good people try to keep things calm. So you avoided confrontation. You let small disrespect slide. You stayed quiet when someone crossed a line. You hoped people would notice your quiet strength and reward you for it. But strength that is never shown is often assumed to be weakness. The aggressive person does not wait to be pushed too far. They respond early. They correct behavior quickly. They defend their position clearly. They are not violent. They are assertive. They are willing to create discomfort now to avoid bigger problems later. Aggression in a controlled form is simply the willingness to impose consequences. It is saying, "No, that does not work for me," and meaning it. It is raising your voice when needed. It is stepping forward instead of stepping back. Look at competitive fields, business, sports, leadership. The ones at the top are not passive. They compete, they push, they take space. They make bold moves while others are still debating whether it is polite to move at all. You thought being agreeable would make people treat you well. Sometimes it does. Often it makes you invisible. The aggressive person may not be liked by everyone, but they are respected. And respect creates opportunities that likability alone never will. You do not need to become reckless. You do not need to attack everyone. But you need the capacity to be firm, direct, and forceful when necessary. The worst people are not afraid of confrontation. The good people often avoid it until it is too late. That is the sixth trait, controlled aggression. The worst people use it to defend and expand their position. The good people hope kindness will protect them. Guess which strategy works more often? There is one final trait. This one ties everything together. Without it, the others fall apart. What is it? The seventh trait society calls bad is ambition without limits. You were taught to be content. Be grateful for what you have. Do not want too much. Do not be obsessed with success. Do not step on others to climb higher. Good people are satisfied. Good people are modest. So you aimed reasonably. You limited your dreams to what felt safe. You avoided being called greedy. You did not want to intimidate anyone with your goals. You stayed small enough to be comfortable. But the people at the top are rarely satisfied. They want more influence, more money, more control, more impact. They are not ashamed of wanting more. They do not apologize for their hunger. That hunger drives them to work harder, take risks, and endure criticism. Ambition is often labeled as greed by people who lack it. Wanting more is called selfish by people who are afraid to want more themselves. But without strong ambition, you accept limits that others break through. Contentment is peaceful, but it does not build empires. Modesty is polite, but it does not dominate markets. The worst people are relentless. They wake up thinking about expansion. They measure progress constantly. They are not satisfied with average. You were told that wanting too much makes you bad, but wanting too little keeps you stuck. There is nothing noble about shrinking yourself so others feel comfortable. There is nothing moral about refusing to pursue your full potential. When you combine selfishness, cold logic, ruthlessness, strategic influence, indifference to approval, controlled aggression, and strong ambition, you get someone very hard to stop. Society calls these traits bad when they are uncontrolled, but controlled, they are power. The worst people are not winning by accident. They are using tools you threw away because you were told those tools were wrong. You disarmed yourself to be good. They stayed armed to be effective. This does not mean you become cruel. It does not mean you abandon kindness completely. It means you stop being naive. It means you stop sacrificing your own position in the name of looking virtuous. It means you understand that the world rewards results more than intentions. You can still be kind, but you can also protect your resources. You can still feel deeply, but you can decide with logic. You can still forgive, but you can remove repeat offenders quickly. You can still be honest, but you can be strategic about how you present truth. You can still care, but not about every opinion. You can still avoid violence, but not avoid standing up for yourself. You can still be grateful, but not limit your ambition. The worst people are not magical. They are not blessed. They are not lucky beyond belief. They are simply willing to use traits you were trained to reject. And in a competitive world, the person willing to use more tools usually wins. Now the uncomfortable question is not why they are succeeding. The uncomfortable question is why you keep refusing to adapt. You can keep calling them bad and stay where you are. Or you can study what works, remove the extremes, keep the useful parts, and finally stop losing a game you did not even realize you were playing. The choice is yours. How many here are truly ready to understand how success really works? And do not forget, keep watching the next video. It is important, more than you think. See you there.